Wow. Donald, it's starting to get weird. I mean, yeah, Chris says starting. It's, okay, I acknowledge. It is genuinely weird. Donald Trump apparently doesn't really understand. I think, kind of at some surface level, he understands that there's a difference between health insurance and life insurance. But I don't think he understands how either one of them work. And apparently, I mean, he seems genuinely mystified that the Democrats are just obstructionists and the Republicans can't all get together to pass his legislation to strip 30 million people of health insurance. I think he genuinely doesn't understand. And there's a piece over in Huffington Post. Addie Barrett wrote a great piece over at thinkprogress.org. The title is President Trump Really Doesn't Know How Health Insurance Works. And, yesterday, the New York Times, the big story last night was he had this conversation with the New York Times yesterday afternoon with the editors of the New York Times and basically, dumped on Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein. And, that's newsworthy, I suppose. It's kind of the palace intrigue. Frankly, the palace intrigue, to me, is the least interesting of all of this stuff. The most interesting is, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to my viewers and listeners? What does it mean to all of us in the United States, what these guys are up to? And those are issues that almost never make it onto the corporate TV. But this is what Donald Trump said yesterday to the New York Times. They were talking about insurance. And he says, because you are basically saying that from the moment the insurance, you're 21 years old, you start working, and you're paying $12 a year for insurance. And by the time you're 70, you get a nice plan. And here's something where you walk up and say, I want my insurance. Now, it sounds to me like he's talking about actually not even term life insurance. He's talking about whole life insurance, where over time, as you're paying your life insurance premiums, you're also building equity. Which makes sense for a billionaire. He's probably got a substantial amount of that kind of life insurance. There's significant tax benefits. That kind of life insurance is something that, wealthy people invest in. But the $12 a year, I think he's thinking of $12 a month, and I think he's been watching Fox So-Called News, and he's been watching these ads for, you can never be turned down for insurance ever again. You can get insurance as low as $12 a month. Just call, and it's a pitch for, subprime term life insurance. And I wouldn't be going off on this rant right now with you if this was the only time he'd ever said something this stupid about insurance. But it turns out back in May, he said, and I quote, insurance is you're 20 years old, you just graduated from college, and you start paying $15 a month for the rest of your life. Now he's got it per month, and now it's 15 instead of 12. But whatever, this is actually back in May. I guess he's now down to $12 a year instead of $15 a month. But back to what he said in May, 2 months ago. Insurance is you're 20 months old, you just graduated from college, and you start paying $15 a month for the rest of your life. And by the time you're 70 and you really need it, you're still paying the same amount. And that's really insurance. This was an interview with The Economist, the international magazine of economics. And how that didn't make the front cover of the magazine, I don't know. First of all, can anybody buy term life insurance for $15 a month when they're 21 and fresh out of college? Most people aren't fresh out of college when they're 21, but whatever, 20 years old. He said, insurance says you're 20 years old, you just graduated from college. Okay, well, let's say somebody did. And they can get life insurance for $15 a month. You really think when you're 70, you're still paying $15 a month? Typically, even when they insure rates, they only insure them for decades. 10 years at a time, and then the price goes up. Sometimes it's 5 years, sometimes, but it's life insurance. I've been watching this thing where Donald Trump is trying to trying to promote the Republican so-called health care plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. And I suspect, I mean, you know, Donald Trump used to be a single-payer guy. And whether that was 15 years ago, but whether that was because he actually understood it or because the last person he had talked to kind of explained it to him and he thought, oh, that's cool. And he explained it to Playboy magazine or something. And that, you know, I mean, back in his single-payer days. And now he's forgotten or he never really understood it in the first place. I don't know, but it's you know, Jimmy Carter was criticized for being constantly in the weeds on policy, for going around and just trying to, you know, understand and micromanage essentially everything that everybody was doing, you know, in or around the White House. Jimmy Carter took a lot of flack for that. He was an engineer. He was a nuclear engineer. You know, he was on nuclear subs. And engineers love to tinker. And, you know, Bill Clinton, on occasion, was criticized for being too much of a policy wonk. Bill Clinton knew the details of everything. Barack Obama knew the details of everything. Now, Ronald Reagan took his 2-hour nap every afternoon. And, you know, there wasn't much beyond that, it seems. But I'm starting to think that he actually doesn't have a clue, which raises the question, is he being kept ignorant by Mike Pence and the people around him in the White House? I mean, do they literally view him as a useful idiot? Or is he actually saying to the people around him, don't talk to me. Don't explain things to me. I don't want to know. And I don't know the answer to that question. I do have the president's schedule, though. Being in the media, I'm on one of those secret mailing lists. And this from the White House today. In the morning, President Donald J. Trump will depart the White House en route to the Pentagon to participate in a poll mill session. This is where they just kind of, it's a round the world, you know, summary of what's going on. The president will then return to the White House. In the afternoon, the president will, the president will make an announcement regarding a pharmaceutical glass packaging initiative. Got a busy day, this guy. He's just so jammed. And meanwhile, Paul Ryan is giving a speech on tax reform at the New Balance factory in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Remind me never to buy, well, I'm not going to go there. The Judiciary Committee is voting on the FBI nominee, NATO. Oh, yeah. Betsy DeVos is addressing ALEC at the Hyatt Regency in Denver at the Colorado Convention Center. ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, the Koch network-funded group that writes legislation or that invites lobbyists from various industries to come in and write legislation to give to Republican legislators to introduce at the state and occasionally federal level. So that's what's going on in the world today that I know about. But this is truly shocking to me that Trump, I mean, yesterday in his interview with the New York Times, he was like, well, I don't know, $15, $12 a year that you pay starting when you're 21, and then when you're 70, you still have it and you need it. And it's like, what?